A military convoy of Russian mercenaries has been ambushed by rebels in the north of Mali. As a result of the attack on the group of Wagnerists, a large number of Russian soldiers were killed and wounded. Cars have been set on fire. Along with the Russian military, there were representatives of the government troops and civilians in the convoy. In total, at least 32 people were killed.
Avec les bagages d'argent, ils ont brûlé tout. Ils ont brûlé tout. Avec les bagages d'argent,
Surviving internet users in Sudzha in Kursk region, controlled by the Ukrainian armed forces, where the Russian Air Force dropped a bomb on a building, no longer believe the Kremlin propaganda. People told how Ukrainian soldiers saved their lives, pulling them out from under the rubble, and urged their relatives to believe that the Russian Federation really wanted to kill them. The corresponding comments from internet users were published by the Ukrainian military commandant's office in Sudzha. The boarding school was torn apart. Some bomb was dropped from a plane. Everything was blown to pieces. It was a Russian plane, one of the women said. In turn, the man recalled how Ukrainian soldiers carried grandmothers out of the destroyed building in their arms. I would like to express my gratitude to the guys from the military commandant's office. After the explosion, first of all, they left us in place to clarify the situation. They waited until the fire outside burned out, and then they started evacuating, taking people out, carrying out old ladies in their arms. First of all, they carried out those who were generally unable to walk. They carried them all out on their own. When all the old ladies were taken out, they sent us all one by one to take us out. They made sure that no one was left inside, he said. Another woman said that after returning to Russia, she intends to tell the truth about the actions of the Russian army. When I come to Russia, I will tell only the truth. Irinka, if you hear or see me, what Tanya said, that the Russians really do want to kill us, or something, that horror is happening there, is the truth, the woman said. Currently, the evacuees are in Sumy at a temporary accommodation point. Recall Ukraine's military reportedly launched a new offensive in Russia's Kursk region, according to multiple Russian military bloggers. Russian Defense Ministry said Ukrainian soldiers mounted a counterattack in the Kursk Oblast, but were thwarted by Moscow's military. Russian military bloggers wrote Ukraine's armed forces began attacks southeast of the town of Sudzha before moving towards Fanasiivka and Ulanok. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Ukraine's armed forces deployed up to 2 mechanized battalions with armored vehicles in Kursk, while assault groups launched several waves of attacks. Russia also claimed its defenses took out 6 Ukrainian tanks, 3 clearing vehicles, 3 infantry fighting vehicles, and 14 armored combat vehicles. North Korean troops have suffered record heavy losses during 2 months of active fighting in Kursk. The reasons for this are the frankly outdated tactics of the DPRK army and the lack of proper support for their attacks from Russian artillery. This was told to the British The Times by Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting on the Kursk bridgehead. A major named Anton from the 95th Airborne Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces described one intense assault on his paratroopers' positions that lasted for many hours. The North Koreans fired accurately, moved quickly, tended to their wounded, and refused to surrender long after it was clear they had lost the battle. Anton said he was relieved that the Koreans were not backed by Russian artillery, drones or tanks. That would have made the Koreans a formidable fighting force. As the Times writes, in general, the North Korean infantrymen showed themselves to be well-trained soldiers with a high level of motivation. In addition, they were young, energetic men in all these respects. They are noticeably different from the soldiers of the Ukrainian Armed Forces and the Russian army, who were demotivated by 3 years of heavy losses, the publication says. The Russians are also tired. Just like us, they are also already fighting with mostly mobilized troops. Usually, when you hit a Russian assault group with drones, it runs for cover and retreats. The North Koreans continue to advance, said Nikolai Strigonov, captain of a paratrooper company from the 80th Airborne Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Captain Belayev, also of the 80th Airborne Assault Brigade, said that at least 40 North Korean soldiers were killed in one drone attack, and that showed why the Koreans suffered so many casualties. They weren't crazy or stupid. They were simply relying on outdated combat tactics that didn't take into account modern realities like reconnaissance and attack drones. The Koreans were moving in tight platoon formations, even though the Ukrainians and Russians had long since realized that such large groups of infantry were easily spotted by drones and vulnerable in modern combat. After some time, they realized that this war was not what they were told, and they disappeared somewhere. We no longer see them on the battlefield. According to our information, they were taken away from here altogether, and for a very long time. Belayev said, recall the North Korean soldiers who were withdrawn from the front line are now probably passing on their experience to other soldiers who did not participate in the battles in the Kursk region. In general, military expert Ivan Timochko calls this pause in the battles a banal regrouping. We also reported that 2 captured North Koreans could be transferred to another country instead of the DPRK. This option would be possible if the prisoners themselves wanted it or Pyongyang refused to accept them.